Okay, welcome to episode 28 of the Sean McGuinness podcast. Apologies for no episode last week. We were just launching the last intake of the year of the 12 week body transformation program, which was the last one of the year. So the next intake will be open January, so keep your eyes peeled for that. We will make up for it in the next few weeks, have some brilliant guests lined up. But unfortunately today, you have to sit with myself. But hopefully the content makes up for that. Now, I actually had a plan of what I was going to talk about. But I did go out to get a coffee. If you're watching on camera, you can see this here. I'm a flat white. Again, I'm not allergic to dairy or anything. I'm in a phase where I'm just order that. Louise orders it, so I just say 2 of those, please. And yeah, I've just been in the habit of that. But on the way back up, there is it's called? It's a hypoxia plate. It's a hypoxia, which means I don't know. It's a fancy word for like cold chambers, and they obviously wrongly say on the website and promotions and marketing that exercising in the cold chamber will increase your fat burning ability and it will make you get skinny, and they have all these Photoshop before and afters and lots of big words, and obviously their advertising's good, and for the vulnerable people that just want to lose weight and look better, they're feeding off that, which I absolutely hate. I'm going to do a vlog one day where I go in there and with my camera and little webcam on the head, but I just have to make sure with my lawyers that I don't get sued for that. But the point was, in the past few episodes, we've got some very smart people on when it comes to nutrition, and we've talked about how sometimes on social media, everyone's answer to fat loss is a calorie deficit. Now, although that is true theoretically, okay, the strategy to get someone to achieve a calorie deficit is vast, okay, and it's very individual and specific, and there's lots of barriers that people have trying to get into them. Again, in the Daniel Lennon podcast, we talked about how people with childhood trauma, that may be a barrier to breaking through that, and they may need to have psychological work to help them. Lots of different reasons why people can't stick to a plan. So although the outcome is the calorie deficit, which will lead to fat loss, the way and the vast amount of variables that will affect someone and that can hold someone back are vastly different, as we are humans. We're not robots. It's not just type your number into a calorie calculator, do your steps, and that's it. Okay, we are more emotional beings than logical. Logically, that's what we do, but emotionally, as we know, it's not what we do a lot of time. Anyway, in this occasion, however, there was actually 2 people in the hypoxia chambers, and you put these stupid wetsuits on. In this occasion, that's where telling these people that, no, you don't need to sit in here and pay all this money and put on a wetsuit, you just need to achieve a calorie deficit. So, different strokes for different folks. What I'm trying to say is, it made me think of, for that person, I feel like going in, breaking on the door and just saying, get the fuck out. Like, you don't need to. You just need to achieve fat losses down to a calorie deficit. You don't need to sit in a wetsuit and sit in this chamber. This is how you do it, okay? However, on other occasions, it can actually be a negative where someone's trying to achieve a calorie deficit, and they may think it's as simple as it seems on the surface. Then that could actually make that person in a worse situation, okay? Because they'll be like, oh, feel guilt, feel shame for not being able to do what in theory is such a simple thing, but in practicality it's not. So anyway, I digress. That made me think of that as I was coming up. So if you're in that situation, first of all, you may not understand how to lose my stubborn stomach fat. It's the same thing. Achieve a calorie deficit. Okay? I don't know how to lose the fat from my legs. It's a calorie deficit. I don't know how to lose this. It's a calorie deficit. Okay? But as we've seen in episodes before. Once we know that, then we can go about achieving that, and that is down to creating a specific plan that you can stick to achieve that. Again, look back to the previous episodes. That will come down to your food preferences, down to your lifestyle. Do you have a family? What's your eating behaviors? What's your past eating behaviors? Roadblocks, environment, that all these things we need to look at, and that will encompass a good plan. But yes, what I was actually going to talk about today was goal setting. There's a shiny notebook behind me, and there's a brand over here, KKK. It's not the Ku Klux Klan. No, is it KKK or Kiki? It's something like that. Not the Drake song, but it sounds like that. And they sell all these shiny notebooks and all this stationery, which is great. Again, don't get me wrong, I love that stuff. But what can happen to people is when they start off, they're trying to lose weight. They get motivated, and you could probably picture back to the first day of school. Again, hold my hand up, I used to do the same. And you'd be actually excited going back to school, and you'd get all your new pencils, and back then we had sharpeners and rubbers. I'm not sure if that's about now, or everything you just do through an iPad. And you'd get all your notebooks, and you'd write your name and the date and the teacher you had, and you get your folders, your plastic pockets. It's all coming back, very nostalgic. And you'd be motivated, and the first maybe week, I don't know, you'd go in your brand new school bag. Again, speaking from my own part, after 2-3 weeks, that's gone. You're missing rubbers, you forget your books. The novelty's worn off. When someone's trying to lose weight, it's the same thing. Novelty kind of creates that dopamine factor where you feel motivated. It's a new... in fat loss, you kind of call it the shiny bird syndrome. So, shiny magpie syndrome, where it's like, oh, here's something shiny. Oh, this. And people will go around from plan to plan, and they'll stick to it for 2-3 weeks. And they'll feel motivated to start simply for the novelty factor. You go into the station shop, you buy one of these books who says like exercise, sleep, journal. You go, oh, this is it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to write all my goals down. This is going to be the time. Okay, you write all your goals down. You get prepared. You might buy some new workout gear. You might do your food prep the first week. You fill your water bottle up. You probably buy a water bottle in there as well for $40. And yeah, you're on it. You think this is going to be the time. Fast forward, I don't know, 3 weeks. That's usually lasts in a New Year's resolution. And you can't even find your book. You're probably throwing it out. You can't find it. You're not writing your goals down. And you don't know where it is. And you're off it. And you go, oh, I just need something else. And that's people plan, jump. And I've done the same myself. And I'm not going to lie. When it comes to training programs. But I know I'm doing it. So I don't know if it's maybe not as bad. But if you're actually trying to lose weight and you're invested in it, it can be something that will hold you back. So we need to be aware of, at the start, like I always say, you're going to be motivated. And this is one of the things that will always happen. People buy these shiny notebooks, and I'll tell clients, and when I see them buy it, obviously it's good to write down your goals. I'm not saying that. But people go about it the wrong way. They make this mistake starting off. When they write their goals down, they write too many down. You have a whole list on the page, about 20 goals you're going to do. You're going to get more steps. You're going to drink more water. You're going to get your full workouts in. You're going to meditate. And you see all these people telling you write out all these goals on social media. And I was even on YouTube the other day, and there's a person who does all this and has a whole morning routine, and then meditate and drink your coconut and the coffee and cold shower and make your bed, and the routine's about 2-3 hours, and then the bedtime's routine about 2-3 hours. And I get it, but and then he's coaching other people how to get high performance quote unquote habits, and he's charging people. The world's gone mad. You're writing your goals. I need to drink more water. I need to get more sleep. I need to get off my phone before bed. the list goes on. I'm sure you're nodding your head along as you say this. Again, we're making the mistake when you actually look at habit change. And the crazy thing about fat loss is it's down to you changing your behaviors. But nobody talks about how to do that or the mistakes people make. It's all kind of pseudoscience a lot of the time, where people is making it up. They're throwing these terms around mindset and stuff like that, where it's not science backed. It's kind of like nutrition maybe was 20, 30 years ago. Like, low fat, you need to go low carb, you need to do this. No. They've seen when you set more than one goal or want to put in place more than one habit or two at a time, your rate of failure goes up 70, 80%. It's something ridiculous. When you set more than 3 or 4 behaviors, your rate of failure is like 90%. And there's a book on this that we talked about in episode 26. I can't remember the name off my head, but I'll put in the notes maybe. And that's what we're doing. So again, just like the old saying, you're trying to chase too many chickens. You're not going to catch any. Okay, you're going to be like Rocky in that scene. But if you want to get fit, that's good. Chase all the chickens. But if you want to actually get to your goal, it's probably not a good idea. Again, I'm saying this from a place of love because I know you mean well. But if your intent doesn't match like scientific methods and a good strategy, you're not really going to get anywhere. It's like you can motivate idiots, but all you're going to get is a motivated idiot. You have to have the strategy with it. So they're the two main things. You're writing too many goals down, okay? You're feeling a little too motivated at the start. What I would actually do is I would go, okay, I have the good intent here. I'm going to write maybe one habit or two I'm going to change down. I'm going to be aware that my motivation is going to drop. And it's probably going to drop after 3 or 4 weeks when that novelty wears off and it's just back to Groundhog Day. But Groundhog Day, when done well, is where the magic happens. Unfortunately, most people don't reach the point where they're doing their habits and behaviors consistently enough to be able to get there. And I see it I'll get online clients. And I've made some people will sign up and okay, no worries. You've signed up, you're motivated, okay, I may not have the money to pay in full, no worries, we have a direct debit system we can do, that's no problem at all. One of the drawbacks of this is people will get to that 3 or 4 weeks and they'll go, oh, I just don't think it's for me. You've just lost motivation. It happens to everyone. And I have also on the other side that some people are so aware of that, they go, Sean, can I please just pay you 5-6 months up front because I know it's going to make me stick to it. So you need to be aware of that. And one of the scientific references to the theory is the hot-cold empathy gap. And I've always talked about this before. And it's where at the start you're hot, you're motivated, you're enthusiastic, but there's a gap that you're maybe not aware of, and you're not aware of what happens when you don't feel motivated. Okay, so at the start it's that hot state, but if you're not aware that in 3 or 4 weeks that motivation is going to drop and you're not going to feel like doing anything, but you still have to do it, it's going to come as a big shock. Whereas if you, and I have a video on it for my online clients, expectations, you need to expect this. Just like anything. Just like when you start university or college. It's great, you've started your favourite course. A few weeks in, I couldn't think of anything worse than studying or doing this assignment. It happens everyday life as well. New job. Same, your favourite song. You listen to that over and over. You're going to hate the song. But you can't really stay motivated all the time, okay? And people expect to stay motivated all the time. It's kind of like going to a comedy show and you have a laugh, you're in a good state. You're not going to stay like that. It's just temporarily. All these things, experiences are just releases of chemicals in your brain. But you can't stay in that state. Like, if your dopamine is high, your chemicals are high all the time, some other bad stuff's going to happen. You look at schizophrenia, they have really high rates of dopamine and stuff, so you can't stay like that all the time. Your brain has to balance out. For every so you do drugs, you go mad into a high state, and then next day Nah, you're coming down. It has to balance out. So it's the exact same thing. If you're really motivated at the start, you need to be aware that motivation is going to drop and you're going to feel it. But you just need to keep carrying it out. So that's the first thing. Second thing, a lot of the time people will write down the habits and they'll go, okay, I want to stop drinking, or I want to stop eating shit, or I want to stop watching as much TV. Okay. When we look at behavior change, you can't stop doing a habit. Okay. If we look at a habit, it's a trigger, it's a routine, it's a reward. Over time, when you repeat that, because your brain likes to do the same thing over and over, what it's going to do is going to store that little habit loop. Okay. And it's going to, I think it actually moves more towards the older part of your brain, the more subconscious, the basal ganglia. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, my brain's gone blank. It starts in kind of the newer frontal lobe, where everything's more conscious, and then it moves. So over time, again, you don't know you're doing it, and that's the basis of a habit. And you know something's very automatic when you can multitask at the same time. So you're just doing it automatic. So that quote unquote bad behavior, and there's no bad behaviors because every behavior gives you something. Okay, so they're all kind of just habits. You can't just stop doing it, because every time you're exposed to the trigger, you will automatically just keep carrying out that same habit over and over and over again. And let me give you an example of this. Try not to go on my phone in the morning. It's a bad habit that Louise and myself decided it's probably not best to set your brain up and you're looking at people in the morning. However, every time I wake up, if my phone's there, that's the trigger for me to go on it and get my little dopamine hit in the morning. So to break a habit, you either have to remove the trigger completely. So for example, I have to remove the phone out of the room. Or I need to replace it with, I don't know, have a drink of water. I need something that maybe meditate, whatever. I just took it out of the room and put an old school alarm clock in there. But if the phone's there, I can use as much willpower as I want. It's going to happen. I'm just going to pick it up automatically. And I'm going to keep doing the stuff that I don't want to be doing. Now, most of the time, you can't really remove the trigger in our everyday life. If you can, brilliant. But if you can't, what we need to do is replace the behavior with something else that gives you the same reward. So, for example, there's no point I'm going to stop drinking alcohol. That might be the intention, but the goal needs to be I'm going to start to do this when exposed to this. Okay, and again, the routine needs to give you the same reward as that. For example, when you're stressed, I'm going to, instead of saying I'm going to stop drinking when I'm stressed, or I'm going to stop eating when I'm stressed, I'm going to do X. I'm going to have a bath, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to watch a comedy, I'm going to do a few push-ups when exposed to this. And that needs to be your goal. Okay, so focus on adding and replacing behaviors rather than simply trying to subtract them, because it doesn't work like that. And over time, when you repeat the new habit loop, that will get stored as your response to the trigger. Okay? And the other thing I wanted to touch on, other, try to pronounce my words, other. Get the piss taken out so many times, so I've stopped saying other, like a cow's fucking teeth. The reason we are not aware, or the reason we set too many goals, is we're not aware that the actual kind of goal we set is made up of so many other things. Okay, and that's, we're not aware of the complexity of, on the surface, what may seem very simple habits we're trying to set, or goals we're going to set for ourselves. Let me give you an example. And this just brought attention to my one of my old mentors, Damien Meyer in Ireland. Okay, someone goes, I'm going to set the goal, I'm going to food prep every Sunday. Because what that's going to do, that's going to take the choice out of me having to pick when my brain's fried, so I'm going to stick better, and that in turn is going to allow me to achieve a calorie deficit. And that food prep will we're not really aware of what the habit of that food prep is made up of. It's made up of you going and buying the food. Okay, so that's a little goal, a habit in itself. It's made up of you buying the Tupperware. It's made up of you setting the time in your calendar to be able to do that, to block it off. It's made up of you having space in your fridge. It's made up of you remembering to bring that food to work. Okay? And then, so that's kind of 6 little things you can name off the bat for that one goal or one habit. And then obviously we see why if you set 2 or 3 on the surface simple habits, they're made up of little 6 to 8 to 10 habits of themselves. Getting to the gym the same way. It's getting your clothes ready. It's blocking off the time. It's driving there. It's having enough time to train. It's all these things, okay? It's telling your partner you need to do all the kind of stuff. So that will kind of put in perspective why setting number is going to set you up for failure. When it comes to people that goal setting, and again, a lot of stuff with goal setting, just very cliched. One of the things which has been made more prominent the last few years of coaching people is the goal needs to be realistic. Okay, you've heard SMART goals. Yes, okay. But it needs to be realistic. So actually when I coach people now, I used to learn from people, coaches that go, you're going to put it on your clients, you're going to dictate, you're going to dominate them. You're the boss. Okay, that's cool. But a lot of time I was setting them up for failure from the start. I was giving them targets to hit or goals to hit when I didn't even ask them, is this actually realistic for you? Because if it's not, all I'm doing is setting you up to fail, and I'm setting you up to have a negative connotation around fat loss and fitness, and you're probably going to quit, and you're probably never going to get in shape again. And coaches are like, they still do it. Clients themselves, people themselves will do it. They'll never go back and ask themselves, actually, do you know what? Is this the low-hanging fruit? Is this realistic? How realistic is it? If it's less than 7 out of 10, well, then it may be a case that you set a goal that is more realistic. Start to achieve success, and that success in itself will create momentum. So you can eventually start to get all these other stuff. But that's why we talked about low-hanging fruit. We talked about it in other episodes. And to give an example of this, obviously when I coach people online, there's the exercise component, okay? However, I have clients that aren't even at the stage yet of actually training, okay? That might seem mad. We have talked about and we've said, okay, here's what we're trying to do. You're coming from a place where your behaviors and habits are kind of all over the place in regards to fat loss. How about we just focus on 1 or 2 really simple things, dial them in, achieve success, feel good, lose weight, and then we can add the exercise component on top. I have clients, and Dora won't mind me mentioning her name, she's dropped 10 kilos in the last few weeks, only from walking and their nutrition, because that's enough. She has so much other stuff going on. She runs her own business. So me giving her too many stuff or too complex a habits to do will set her up for failure, okay, and throw her off board. Where if we just say, okay, all I want you to do the first 2 weeks is track your food so we can build that awareness around what we're eating and get your steps in. Nothing else, okay? I'm not even trying to achieve a calorie deficit starting off. I just want you to track your food. I want you to get the habit in place first. And I want you to achieve your step count. Okay, because I know that in itself, I can increase someone's activity. A lot of the time, that's going to put them in a deficit anyway. And then when we start to clean up our food, and again, when I say clean up, you're still looking for the low-hanging fruit. If someone's eating like really shit, you just will track the food and maybe guide them to eating less shit, and that's less calories. And then we've expended more, then that person's losing weight, and then we're feeling good because you go, do you know what? This is achievable. This feels easy. That's become more prominent. That's something I really want to get across. Yes, okay, we need to weight train, we need to get our steps, we need to get our activity, we need to hit, But if that is too much for you in this current moment, focus on the most important, which may be just your nutrition. Okay, and then we can add the rest on top when that becomes easier. And that, I actually have a few clients in the same boat that we still aren't even at the training component yet, because I know, and they've told me that it will throw them off if we're trying to focus on too much. Even when it comes to energy expenditure, like, oh no, in regards to burning calories, especially for people that are out of shape and overweight, if I can just get them to move more, firstly, it's less of a pain than actually training. And secondly, it goes back to the first point, it's more convenient. Thirdly, it's going to burn more calories. Because I know if I get someone that, especially someone's training at home, or they're new to the gym, they're new to training, they're not going to be burning that many calories in essence in a workout. Whereas if they're just getting a lot of steps in per day, they have to carry around that body weight, they're relatively inefficient in regards to fitness, that equates to you burning a shitload of calories. So that was just a tangent when it comes to that as well. So it's like, okay, we have the optimal, but maybe optimal isn't optimal, because what's optimal for the person is the optimal. May not be scientifically optimal, but results, that is the most optimal thing. And this is some of the stuff that, again, people at home, you're probably nodding your head along, you're setting yourself up for failure before, writing too many goals, behavior changed the wrong way, but hopefully this will get across the right way to do it, and maybe you can reapproach. Because again, success creates success. When you succeed at something, no matter how small the task, I've even seen people, when you make your bed in the morning, that release a bit of dopamine, that will create good momentum. Okay, coming back to that does create like kind of the same chemical release as motivation. You feel good, feel motivated, and you positively reinforce the habit, and then you're more likely to keep going and keep creating better habits. Versus you set yourself up for failure from the start. You set too many habits, set too many complex habits that you can't achieve in that current moment. Well, you go, oh, fuck this. Like, I can't do this. Weight loss is too hard. And that creates its own bad momentum in itself. So, there you go. I'm going to go down and kick the door into the hypoxia place, so I can try again on video. Spreading the word of how to achieve fat loss and how to not get ripped off and make stupid people famous. One podcast at a time. So there you go. Next week we have on Stefan Ivanev, when I was first a trainer for the first few years, I was going to all his courses, and they used to work at a place called Clean Health. And yeah, he looks a bit like Arnold Schwarzenegger, so I idolized him, and his knowledge is off the chart. So he's on next week as well, so I can't wait for that. But yes, there we go, closing out the episode. Please like and share and do all that fun stuff. One thing I always forget to mention, which I'll mention on my Instagram, is if you need a kind of starting point with your fat loss, or you're getting back, quote unquote, on board, download the template, the fat loss ebook template, which is for free on my page, in my bio. And yes, that should give you a good basis of where you want to go, in combination with all these podcast episodes, hopefully enough. Okay, closing out. See you all on the next episode.